In a few days, President Trump will head to Singapore for a historic meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong Un. What is likely to take place, and will the meeting truly lead to a denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula? Well, joining us from Washington is someone who has followed this extensively. He's Curt Mills, foreign policy reporter for the National Interest. Curt, thanks for joining us. So it was on, then off, now back on. What should we expect from this meeting in Singapore?
Assuming the meeting happens on June 12th, which I think is a fairly safe assumption, though former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich today intimated that it's still possible the president could pull out. But assuming the summit happens on June 12th, it's very possible that this will be just the first of several summits. Your viewers might harken back to Reagan and Gorbachev, a series of summits talking about nuclear de-escalation. I think with Trump, you find someone, and his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, you find two people who are fairly comfortable with the representatives they've met with North Korea, and they very much want to hammer out a deal. It would be a legacy maker for both Pompeo and Trump, and would provide a level of legitimacy and security for the government in Pyongyang.
Yeah, I think some American officials are saying, well, don't expect too much. This may be just a meet and greet. But as you had mentioned, Gorbachev and Reagan, and I covered that many years ago, it was a process. It wasn't one meeting. It took time to come to an agreement and sign a deal. Now, I know some South Korean officials have said just because the Kim family has fooled the West in the past, that doesn't mean it will happen again. So are they a bit too optimistic? How sincere do you think Un is, and what might be different this time?
I think the North Koreans are being authentic. This is a leader that is far different than his father. Kim Jong Un is far younger, and Kim Jong Un wants to secure his leadership position in his country. And a handshake with the leader of the free world is surely a sign of legitimacy. And I think we've already seen significant overtures from the North Koreans, the release of the hostages, the destruction of some nuclear sites. So what you saw with Trump when he originally kind of pulled out of it is that he thought that he had already secured a lot of concessions. So from his perspective, the North Koreans seem ready to play ball.
How likely is it, Curt, that this administration will link aid to North Korea not only to progress on nuclear disarmament, but have linkage also if Kim allows greater religious freedom in the country? Do you think that's likely? There will be a linkage there?
I think religious freedom is very much on the table. This is a Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, who has been strong on these issues in his congressional career and at the CIA. And I think that will very much be a first-order concern, or at least a second-order concern. In terms of the human rights situation in North Korea generally, this is an administration that is not going to prioritize that, or at least prioritize it vis-a-vis democratic administrations. But religious freedom is a first-order concern for Mike Pompeo's State Department.
Yeah, I think they've also expressed that in Iran. That was one criticism of the Iran deal, I think, that both Trump and Pompeo said, is that it didn't have any linkage to human rights at all. So why do you think this meeting's happening? What really brought it about?
I think, the one thing that President Obama told then President-elect Trump in November 2016 is that the biggest security challenge that he would inherit would be North Korea. That has certainly held true. And so Trump, from the beginning of his presidency, we're at the 500-day mark now, of course, as your viewers know, has been North Korea. And heading into the midterms, the president would like to secure some sort of legacy-defining achievement. And I think that the president is well on his way to doing it. And, the president, look, some people love him, some people hate him. He's basically in a normal range of popularity for a president at this time. But the North Korean initiative has been something that has been broadly popular among voters in both parties and among independents. And you see Democrats sort of flailing if Obama had tried to do this, it would have been Obama the Great Peacemaker. You see Schumer and Pelosi concerned that Trump is going to give away the goods. So it's sort of an interesting role reversal. The Democratic messaging isn't quite clear and concise on how to grapple with a potential legacy-defining peace agreement in North Korea.
And finally, what do you make of the removal of those three top generals? Kim removed 3 of them recently.
I think the Kim continues to consolidate power and continues to consolidate a front bench that is forward-looking and more Western-looking than his father's government. And I think that he's going to do whatever it takes to make this happen. He does not want to suffer the fate of Saddam Hussein or Muammar Gaddafi, or even the position that Iran is in right now vis-a-vis the United States. He wants a deal.
Yeah, no Libyan model there.
No
Okay.
Libyan model, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay, Curt Mills of the National Interest, thanks so much for your insights today.
Thanks so much.